welcome to the podcast. We have been doing a masterclass on shadow work. What is shadow work? How do you know you're ready to do it? How can you rewire your brain, which then rewires your body so that you're not in autopilot to repeat those same cycles over and over and over? How do you know thyself and therefore get the peace that you've been waiting for your whole life? Shadow work's the key, and astrology helps you dig even deeper into shadow work. So we've been looking at astrology in the last podcast, and I've been offering up how you can look at the high vibe version of your sun and moon sign, as well as the shadow vibe version of your sun and your moon sign. And so why are we looking at the sun and why are we looking at the moon? And we got into the divine masculine and feminine energies, which are in every single person, regardless of your gender. So our masculine energy is the go get it, make the decision, go do the thing. And the divine feminine energy is receiving the thought, getting quiet and receptive so that you'll know what you can go out and do the thing. So we get into masculine and feminine quite a bit more. That's in the podcast to come. But for now, we're going to look into our sun sign and our moon sign a little bit deeper. Again, this is the book. I've written the book on it. I've been there. I have done that. I have repeated the cycles. I have been on repeat for a long time, and I have learned. And I've shared my favorite brain hacks. I shared a few of them in the podcast, but all of them are in here. My favorite holistic tools to get real about the shadows that are on repeat. So now we're looking at astrology, and I am an astrologer. I do professional readings, and astrology has helped me take my shadow work to the next level, and it's definitely helpful for my clients. So I'm sharing everything in the book, sharing it with you now on the podcast. We're just going to look at the moon right now. This is where we start looking a little bit deeper at the moon. And so you'll see I keep things very pretty, it's easy to read. I want this to be easy to read so that you don't quit, because people quit shadow work. Just do. It doesn't make you a quitter. So if you're listening and you're like, how dare she call me a quitter? I'm sorry. You can always come back. Trust me, I quit shadow work plenty of times. And I will continue to do shadow work because triggers continue to pop up. And it's something that's ongoing. It's not something that you heal and suddenly you have no triggers and shadows. There's always a deeper level to your shadow stuff. And that's why I love astrology. It helps you dig so deep. Okay, so here on this, I didn't quote anybody. I made this up myself. So here it goes. The moon taught her that it's okay to go through phases. The sun taught her that no matter how many times she goes down, keep rising. So just a metaphor on how powerful the sun and the moon are for us. Now I get into the moon, and I'm going to read from the book here about diving deeper into what the moon in astrology means. Okay, so the moon is feminine energy. The moon is a water element, and the moon represents joy and fear. It's our emotions. Okay, so living in balance and harmony, not in a stressful and emotionally imbalanced reality, requires you to dig deep into your moon sign. So again, if you want to live in balance and harmony, if you want to be emotionally intelligent, you go to your moon sign. Your moon sign represents your divine feminine energy. The moon highlights your emotional intelligence, your intuitive receptiveness, and your sense of security in this lifetime. Understanding your natal moon can help you unpack your divine feminine energy. And your divine feminine energy is being open to feeling your feelings, embracing your intuition, being receptive to intuitive guidance, and receiving feedback in order to live in joy, not fear. So if you're closed off, I don't want to hear that. I won't receive your feedback. I won't feel those feelings. You're not diving into the divine feminine energy that the moon can offer you. Okay, so ruled by the element of water, the moon is flowing and receptive when in its highest expression. The moon is extremely receptive. So for instance, if someone were to give you some negative feedback, the moon can receive it. When you are emotionally intelligent and you're open to being receptive, you can receive it. Okay, but at its lowest, it's closed off to receiving intuitive guidance or any guidance at all. So that's what I just said. It's closed off. Not going to feel those feelings, not going to hear what you're giving me for feedback, stopping it. So you're not in your feminine energy, your feminine flow. You're not in your high expression of your moon sign. Aligning with your moon will help you receive intuitive guidance in order to create the joy-filled life that you deserve. So I give you quite a few prompts here, journal prompts. So there's a journal prompt. There's a journal prompt. And we're always going back to you're identifying, this is what we said in the last podcast. You're identifying the sign of your moon. So if it's Pisces or Aquarius, you're going to see high vibe of Aquarius, shadow vibe of Aquarius. And then you're going to study that and you're going to go along with the journal prompts. I'll just read the first journal prompt I have here for the moon sign. Using the high vibe and the shadow vibe description of your moon sign, explore when you've been stuck in fear-based emotions in your past. How did you move out of the fear-driven thoughts and into the flow of intuitive thoughts? So again, a lot of it's going to have to do with when you've been feeling receptive to feedback, when you've been receptive to your feelings. So if there's a feeling that you continue to squish down and not feel, feelings are for feelings. I say it again and again in this book. You're not in your intuitive flow. You're not in your feminine energy. You're not in your high vibe moon energy. So there's a lot of journal prompts about that. Okay, that you can, when you get the book, you'll be able to journal and you'll be able to get into that receptive mode. The moon is extremely receptive. And so getting into that receptive mode, good, bad, ugly, receiving that energy so that you know what to do. You can't know what to do until you're able to receive. Okay. And then I've just written a little nice thing here. You can color if you like. The moon reminded her that no matter what phase her life is in, she is full. The sun reminded her that no matter how dark it gets, her light will always shine. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the sun. Okay, this is your masculine energy. This is a fire element. This has to do with your heart and your ego. Okay, so living a heart-led life, so not an ego-driven life, which is full of knee-jerk reactions driven by stress hormones. When you're in your ego, you are repeatedly in those loops of knee-jerk reactions, being offended immediately. You're in your ego when you continue to do the cycle and you're not looking at the trigger. That's when you're living in your ego, but your heart is begging you to do otherwise and get out of the ego. This requires you to dig deep into your sun sign. Your sun sign represents your divine masculine energy. Again, this is not about gender. We all have divine feminine. We all have divine masculine. Your sun highlights your soul's mission in this lifetime. So that's big. Understanding your natal sun can help you unpack your divine masculine energy. And this is all about acting on the intuition that you receive from your divine feminine, and then making those decisions that are heart-led and not from your ego. That's the key. When you're in your divine masculine energy, you know that you're acting on what has been received by the divine feminine. It's all about listening to your heart, dropping into the language of the heart as opposed to the language of the ego. You know you're in the language of the ego when you're on that repeat and you're telling those stories of the victimhood and you're blaming and you're shaming. You know you're in your ego when you're doing that. But when you're coming from the heart, it's a totally different story. Ruled by the element of fire, the sun is all heart when in its highest expression, but in its lowest, it's egocentric. Aligning with your sun will help you make heart-led decisions and learn how to respond with wisdom and creativity, not to continue with negative and repeated cycles. Okay, so again, I give quite a few journal prompts how to get into the high vibe of your sun. So the first one I will read out to you using the high vibe, shadow vibe description of your sun sign. So again, you go back to those pages that I did for each of the zodiac signs. Explore when you've been stuck in the ego in the past. How did you move out of the ego-driven thoughts and into heart-led decisions? So these are the kind of journal prompts that I help you really dig deep into your sun sign. It's all about knowing what to do, receiving the thought from the divine feminine part of you, from your moon sign, and then your sun sign. It's like getting out of bed in the morning, doing the damn thing, knowing exactly what to do. And it's all coming from here. It's not coming from the ego. It's not coming from those repeated cycles, those triggers. I'm so offended. I'm so angry. If you're coming from that energy and you're making decisions on that, that's the low vibe of your sun sign. And that's the shadow. Those are your shadows that are going to be on repeat until you're able to have an honest look at them. So just the final closing thing that I've written about this. By integrating the energies of both your sun sign and your moon sign, you address the emotional, mental, and practical aspects of healing. This holistic approach allows the darkness to lead way for the light to shine through. Engage in activities that nurture both the energies, such as creative expressions, that's your feminine and your moon, and the physical exercise or goal setting of the masculine energy. The masculine is in the mind, but if we can drop into our hearts, we'll know that it's a heart-led decision as opposed to an egocentric decision. And you are stuck in your ego if you are stuck in your unconscious patterns. You truly are ego-driven, and people don't like to hear that. That's triggering in and of itself. You are led by your ego. If you continue to be offended, if you continue to have knee-jerk reactions, you truly are led by your ego and not by your heart. And your sun sign is forever getting you to shine in the highest version of the sun sign. And that's why it's so important to check out those pages, those cheat sheets that I have been writing for years, and now I've put them all into this one book, and I'm so happy to share it with you. I hope you've been inspired by this section of the book. We've looked at how you can use astrology to dig even deeper into your shadow work. So now we're on part 3 of the book, and part 3 is, are you ready? The feminine and the masculine. We're going to dive even deeper into what does that mean, feminine energy, masculine energy. How do you get into that energy to dig even deeper into the shadow work so that for once and for all, your emotions are not giving you that charge, right? That reaction. And you can in turn learn to respond and not to react. So continue along. Next section is masculine and feminine. Okay, see you in the next one.